This cairn marks the southern terminus of the Bruce Trail, a cross-country foot trail established along or adjacent to the Niagara Escarpment, extending from Tobermory on Georgian Bay in the north to this southern terminus at Queenston Heights. So reads the plaque on the cairn at Queenston Heights. At the northern terminus of the Bruce Trail sits another identical cairn. The cairn at Tobermory dates from 1967, Canada's centennial year, while the one in Queenston came 3 years later and was officially unveiled on September 19, 1970. The cairn in Tobermory sits in a more picturesque and photo-worthy setting. It overlooks a harbor. The cairn in Queenston Heights sits in a parking lot. Considering that half the land along the Bruce Trail corridor is vulnerable to development, the parking lot may be symbolic of the challenges conservationists face. The two cairns have a number of things in common. They were both designed by artist Ruth Arnsberger, and both were built by stonemason Ivan Lemke. The arrows came from Ebble quarries in Wyerton, and most of the rocks were sourced by the same people, Ruth and Ivan in Wyerton, and a Niagara Bruce Trail member, Luis Libera. You may wonder, why a cairn to indicate the entrance to the trail? What exactly is a cairn and why is it used? A cairn is just a pile of rocks, but much more. A cairn must possess certain characteristics, and it must have a purpose. It must have a design. It should be obvious that someone built it. It must be seen. A cairn may be located on a hill or along a trail. In a treeless landscape, a cairn stands out. It indicates someone else has been there. Therefore, the traveler is not alone, and it indicates the path to follow. It must be stable. It needs to withstand the elements. It must be permanent. Rocks are long-lasting, and a cairn is meant to last a long time. It must have a purpose and a meaning. The cairn acts as a marker. I think of the Inuit in the Arctic. They're right. Heaps of stone do have the capacity to act as a human. There are many cairns in the Niagara region, most of which mark historic sites and events. They can be found on street corners, such as the one in Niagara Falls that marks the site of the first railway in Upper Canada, and another at the Sir Adam Beck Generating Station, used as a memorial to the workers who built it. The cairns at Queenston and Tobermory mark the beginning and the end of the Bruce Trail. In order to respect the natural habitats through which the trail passes, the many users of the trail, and the private lands through which more than half the trail passes, there is a user's code. These are the rules of the Bruce Trail. Hike only along marked routes. Do not take shortcuts. Do not climb fences. Use the stiles. Respect the privacy of people living along the trail. Leave the trail cleaner than you found it. Carry out all litter. Use a portable stove. No open fires are allowed on the trail. Camp only at designated campsites. Leave flowers and plants for others to enjoy. Do not damage live trees or strip off bark. Keep dogs on a leash and under control at all times. Do not disturb wildlife. Leave only your thanks and take nothing but photographs. Obey all signs. The purpose of a cairn is well explained in this quote. The tradition of stacking stones came not from building a monument to oneself. It was to build for others, a memorial or a navigational aid. The intent lacked ego. It was just the opposite. It was an act of service. The escarpment is a ridge of sedimentary rock, dolomite, limestone, shale, and sandstone, exposed in some areas and underwater in others. The escarpment begins in New York State and it ends in Wisconsin. It dips underwater from Tobermory to Manitoulin Island, itself part of the escarpment. The escarpment has a claim to fame as one of the world's unique natural wonders, with more than 100 sites of geological significance. The newest thing to happen to the escarpment happened 12,000 years ago, when the glaciers melted. The rock continues to be affected by natural forces, erosion by rain and rivers, freezing and thawing cycles. The rock has economic value, and quarries operate in the area. The cliffs, waterfalls, and bays bring tourism. Trails are for people. If the escarpment is all about the rock, the Bruce Trail is all about people. From the few original visionaries that proposed the idea of a trail along the escarpment, to the many volunteers that maintain it, to those who have donated land to preserve it, those who belong to the Bruce Trail Conservancy, and the many people who use and benefit from the trail. The cairns bring rocks and people together in a unique way, one that is recognized the world over, and one that has been practiced for thousands of years. A collection of rocks, assembled in a particular way for a particular purpose, communicates a significant message, one that can be understood without words.